Now today we're going to have a small project on the R1. I'm going to make some heel guards out of aluminum. I'll explain why I'm making them. But there should be some good information on this if you're making any kind of brackets. Now I made these brackets out of carbon fiber about 17 years ago. The one on the other side got damaged slightly, and this one, because I don't have rear pegs on the bike, I made one piece rather than having that. It used to be part of the foot peg assembly, but it's a simple part to make. It's a rainy day. We're going to get into the garage and get the aluminum out and the saw and get working on this. Now the original parts that come with the bike are aluminum. They're cast. See how this is damaged from, I guess, from my boot rubbing on it? I don't know, but they did last about 15 years, I guess. The bike's 17 years old now. So we bought, before we start, some general information. I've made a lot of brackets for this bike and all the bikes in my collection. This is the latest one. It's all out on the video, of course. But every one of the bikes in the collection has some unique bracketing. And if you're not sure how to make it, or, well, this video might have some useful information. And if not, I hope it's entertaining to make these parts. Relatively easy job, straightforward, no special tools. Now the original parts unbolt real quickly, of course, and I'm going to use them for a pattern since these, I like the way these look in terms of the shape. I just would like to have something different, and I do love evil twinning out all my motorcycles and having sets of parts to make them just feel like, well, in my case, little custom touches. It's all about the little details. So these parts actually lasted well over 15 years, I'm sure, because I made a lot of the carbon fiber parts I made for the bike when I first got the bike, and at that point in time I was using carbon fiber every day in the shop making model airplane parts. Now I've made the carbon fiber heel guards for some of the other bikes, the 650 for instance, but as years have gone by I realized the problem with them is they take a beating from your boots rubbing on them, and if you don't constantly use some compound to clean off the scuffs, it can be a problem. So we're going to try to make the ones for the R1, see how they turn out today, and polish them nice, and that'll be the first of maybe many that we're going to make in the future. I'm not sure if you can see where this part had a problem. It looks like it's starting to crack, in fact, from, well, I don't know, whatever. It lasted a long time, but we're going to replace these with aluminum parts. And we'll still keep these. I can actually go back and refinish this if I want to, put another layer of carbon fiber over that after it's sanded down. But right now I'd like to make some of these out of aluminum. It'll give me more parts to do my evil twinning. So these are the original parts, and notice I kept the bolt that would line up with what I'm going to try to do is, when I make these parts, drill a hole first, put a bolt in, and now that that part's in place, use this as a template to drill a second hole. That's an old machine shop trick that'll work on these parts. But these, I guess you could polish up. They're anodized. Of course, you'd have to scrape off all the anodizing. And this material usually, well, it's more work to polish this and pull off the anodizing, unless you have some chemical way of doing it. And it's just easier for me to make new parts. But then I'll have 3 sets of heel guards when this is over for my evil twin projects. Okay, these are the original parts now, and I just want to make sure I'm going to extend this part about 1/4 inch when I make the pattern. So this is 3/16 aluminum I got from Amazon. It has a coating on it of some kind of cellophane. It protects it that doesn't get super scratched up, but we're going to polish it anyway, and as you can see, it's not in perfect shape. But anyway, this is about 20 bucks from Amazon, and that'll be our part. Now the way I do this is, the first thing is cover aluminum, the side you're going to use, with ordinary blue painter's tape. Then I can lay out the part as accurately as, well, as accurately as reasonable here. And then I can modify it if I want to. Always a good idea, if you have a straight edge, go across the edge, just saves you some cutting. And this is the part I'm going to make a little bit different. That'll make the part a little bit stronger, and I maybe, well, we're going to see when it's all done. So this is my probably 40-year-old And when I had the machine shop and all the modeling years, this saw has cut a lot of material, aluminum and wood, and it's still just like it was brand new. Okay, but the whole trick with any saw, even this little, it's a hobbyist saw, is you buy the blades. Now, you can buy, these are relatively inexpensive from Harbor Freight. If you're cutting wood, it's no big deal. If I would suggest, if you're cutting aluminum or steel or metal of any kind, brass, you want to use the more expensive blades. These are roughly twice the price of these blades. But however, if you're cutting wood, plywood or something, these are fine. But for people that don't know, maybe some people don't know, when you're cutting metal, you want to use the ones with the most TPI, teeth per inch. In this case, it's 25. These blades only go to 20, so I assume these blades are, well, they'd probably be a little bit better, but maybe they wouldn't last as long. I don't know, but it's always the most amount of teeth per inch, TPI. So the first thing I want to do is drill one hole in each piece, and then using that bolt to bolt the two parts together, use it as a template. It's kind of overkill in this place because if these holes didn't line up exactly, you could elongate them a little bit, but it is just a habit from doing a lot of machine shop work. Now when you get these sheets of aluminum, they're cut with a shear. So they're a razor blade, they literally are. I take some rough sandpaper and just clean the edges. Otherwise, what you do when you're over by the drill press or by the saw, or no matter what you're doing, it's a razor blade. If you run your finger here real quick, it could ruin your whole day. This is cheap insurance. Now whenever I'm drilling anything that's like a sheet or thin, I like to do it with a step drill. The reason is if you're using a regular drill, it'll catch and twist the part right out of your hand. These drills, and of course these come from Harbor Freight, and they've actually been pretty good quality over the years. Now I like to use a slow drill speed. I don't want to make the hole any bigger than I have to. And I want to get a precision fit on this if I can. Now using the original part, I'll tighten that bolt down, put the nut on, and then this is now my template for drilling the second hole. And that is a good machine shop trick. It works on almost everything. And that is really a good way to get a matching set of holes. You know those are going to be accurate. And this one is even more important because I want to get those holes accurate. I want this top edge, this is going to run along, his part has a bend in it, our part is going to be straight. I want to have that edge match the chain guard, so that'll be just a little bit nicer, I think. Now the next step is using a countersink. I just want to break that edge. I don't want to have a razor blade edge that it's going to catch when I'm trying to do the delicate saw operation. The saw operation is pretty delicate. I'm putting this in fast forward. You can't obviously cut aluminum this quickly. You have to be patient. And it's like using a Dremel tool. You let the saw do the work. If you push on it too hard, all you do is break a lot of blades. And well, ask me how I know. Anyway, from modeling many years and from working in a machine shop with Joe K, what we would do is, the answer to that is buy a lot of blades, if you're not sure. There's nothing is more frustrating than being right now in this part and you break the blade, and then you go look in your little tool compartment and you don't have any blades, you got to run to wherever, Home Depot or something. Anyway, my suggestion is always have a lot of blades. And using the ones with 25 TPI, which I used on this, seem to work light years better than the ones that were 20, the more expensive blades. So I'm going to revise that. Those Harbor Freight blades, the 25 TPI, they really seem to work fine. Oh, another well-worn tool from many years of working. That belt sander has done a lot of work. And getting the edges flat, it's just going to make the polishing of the part that much easier. Now, I try to use the belt sander to get the flat edges, straight edges. the curve edges, you can use the wheel like I'm doing here. But then there's always some inside curves you have to do either by hand or with the Dremel tool. But you can pretty much figure that out based on what shape the part is. But the whole thing with this is, and this is in super fast forward, just take your time, get as much of this done on a belt sander as you can. Now, it's always easier if the parts you're making have a lot of straight edges and no inside curves. Now, this is a very useful tool. You can get this at Harbor Freight. It's a little mandrel. It has little sanding drums that go on the end. You put it in a drill press and let the actual sandpaper touch the bottom of the drill press so that you can get a nice edge. It's real good for doing inside curves. It has a lot of uses, relatively inexpensive, and the drums are very inexpensive. But what this allows you to do is now right in there, that's an inside curve, a valley. To get in there and get that clean and straight and get out all the sanding scratches, as many as you can, this is a very, very useful tool. So once you get to this point, now you look at how nice the edges are and the inside curves, but we saved the more complex part with more curved edges for the second one. And this one is going to take a lot more of the same work. Now, I always save the part that has more curves in it for last. I just find, even when I was doing this virtually every day, what would happen with any tool, I'd use it, and about 20 minutes into it, I'd get very comfortable and I could, hum a tune while I was doing it and not break the blade. Well, today must have been our lucky day. We didn't even break one blade. I don't know why. But anyway, cutting aluminum, you just got to be patient. The whole thing here, just be patient, because you know what's going to happen is in the end, you're going to have a beautiful part and you can take a lot of pride once it's polished. Now, before I do any more finishing or polishing on this, I want to make sure I have exactly the fit I want on a motorcycle. All the bolts are lining up right. Everything is exactly the way I want it, because if I want to change it, it's a lot easier to change it before I polish it. Now, a dry fit is such a good idea before you polish anything, because I want to see that that clearance there is exactly the way I want it. I want to make sure everything lines up, and because there's going to be a lot of time to polish this, and then I don't want to come out and have to change anything. I want everything to look like it's from the factory. Now, we got the fits and the finishes really nice and tight on this. Just couldn't be nicer. And this piece, when I extended that, I wanted that to marry up to the line that's on that little carbon fiber piece. So we're ready to polish. Now, there's a lot of good ways to polish aluminum. This is the way I find to just get what I call a quick polish on this. 1000 grit sandpaper, a soft rubber block, some soapy water, an SOS pad would be fine too. And just work the edges first. The first thing is the edges. Get all the edges done. You don't want to have any razor sharp edges on this while you're handling the part. Once all of the edges are done and the holes are countersunk, then you can take the rubber block, you can take the soapy water, and just get it as flat as possible. Some people like to sand front to back, side to side, swirls. I don't think it really matters to me, because when we get to the buffing wheel, it's just going to take time to get it the way we want it. I want that polished look. Now, buffing out aluminum. There's grades of aluminum. The harder grade, 6061, 2024, very different than soft aluminum. Soft aluminum, you need to use very gentle polish on it. But this aluminum, I like to use the black first, the red second, and the white third. And if you have, it's really nice if you have 3 dedicated wheels. I don't. I just rake the wheel in between. But that makes it easier. And just taking your time here, and what happens? The part gets hot. You can use old motorcycle gloves. In this case, I have 2 parts. So what I do is when one would get hot, I just put it in that little bucket of water and go get the other part. And in the end, this is just time consuming, and it requires some practice. And there's plenty of videos out on my channel, buffing engines, buffing parts, buffing this, buffing that. And I didn't want to make too much of the video about buffing. I just want a rough, smooth surface on this for now. Now once I'm done with the wheel, I can use some of the Meguiar's or some of the Mothers. Doesn't really matter, it's not critical. You can use toothpaste. But there's another video out on the channel. If you're really new to polishing it, just on my channel, look up the word Flitz, F-L-I-T-Z. I went into great detail when I made that video for Flitz, and it's got 1 million hits. And it has some good information about polishing aluminum. Now, with different grades of aluminum and stuff, much too much information to include on this video. But what I wanted to do here, I want to rough polish this. I just don't want any deep scratches, because what's going to happen every time I ride the bike, the boots are going to rub up against this, and I pretty much wipe the bike down and clean it every time I ride it. So I will take a little bit of compound and just hit any of the scratches before they get too bad and maintain it. But anyway, just a rough polish on that is good enough for now. And I wanted to get it on the bike after I wiped it down. I hit it with a little bit of Flitz. It actually came up pretty nice. And check out that Flitz video. That's got good information. But what happens here, you know it's going to take a beating. So I will keep after it, as I always do with the rest of the bike. And I think that's a nice little detail touch. Now it gives me 3 choices. I like the Evil Twin bikes out. I like to change them up constantly. There's no such thing in my case as a finished motorcycle. And that's going to give me a lot of choices. I think it matches the silver wheels. Real nice, in fact. And the pillion that I made from carbon fiber, that's all carbon fiber. And I've made so many parts for this bike. They're very enjoyable to make. And when I'm done, I have a very unique R1 that I'm very happy with, in fact. And recently I've been riding it more. It's got 39,000 miles. Guy's been working on it and helping me with, we've been working up at his shop, and we put a quick shifter on it, and I intend to, from this point in time on, try to get another 39,000 miles on it. So no matter what bike you ride, or whether you like it stock or modified or custom, I hope the video was useful. I enjoy making parts for the motorcycles. I enjoy changing them out. I call it evil twinning. I like having multiple sets of parts for the bike. I like working with power tools, and I like videotaping the little adventures I have in a shop and sharing them with my friends on YouTube. And of course, the biggest thing of all is I ride safe and enjoy whatever bike you decide you like to ride. Ride the bike that you like, the famous words of Joe Roselli, and polish it as much as you like. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.